We're now going to go over how to bridle your horse properly. So what we're going to do here is I've got one of our comfort snaffles, which is an old headstall on it, and I've got it kind of adjusted so it's going to be loose on his head when we put it on, but I'm going to talk you guys through how that all works. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do this today. So first way I'm going to show you is we're going to pretend like he's really hard to bridle, because some of you have that, all right? Now, if he's super hard to bridle, there's lots of things we need to do to kind of work on that, but let's just say you got to get the bridle on, you got to get going for whatever reason. That's not something I suggest, but hey, sometimes that's just the way it is. We got to get on with the day, and then maybe the next day or that afternoon you might work on it some more. So first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to get my equipment ready. What I want to do is I want to put the reins over my arm like this. I'm going to put my bridle over my arm, just like so. I'm not going to come up with my reins dropped and stuff not ready. I want to be kind of organized as I come up here. So I get these reins ready, all right, and I'm going to get this headstall ready, and that's all just sitting right here. I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. All right, so that's sitting there. Same thing over here. I don't just have this dropped on the ground. I don't have it all coiled up and weird like this. I've got it organized, because this is also going to go over my arms. So I got both arms. We're kind of ready to go. Now you might say, well, why do you bother with that? Well, let's say he's not tied and I'm going to bridle him, right? If he were to walk off or something, I could kind of reach up here and support him. If this rope is all tangled up and where he could step on and stuff, things just get awkward. So I want to kind of just be ready for all of these things. All right, the next thing we want to talk about here is, as we start to approach this horse, is I personally don't like to put the lead rope or the reins over the horse's head at first. Like in this instance here, he's gentle to bridle, but notice how he moved away. Now, let's just say worst case scenario. If I go to put that on there first and he were to get away from me, this bridle's going to drop to the ground. It's just going to drag and get tangled up in his feet and stuff. And I know there's mixed opinions on that, but if he's real tough for some reason, I'm probably just going to leave the halter on rather than putting the reins over it first. That's just me for personal preference. So what I like to do is I keep the reins here, right? I'm going to keep the lead rope here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bridle over the top of this halter. So this is the first thing I want to show you. So just like the halter in here, I'm going to offer this horse down in a soft spot. I'm going to take the bridle here, and I'm going to reach it up here to my right hand. I notice my right hand is over his ear, so if I can't reach that, I need to teach my horse to come down here. Now, if he's not very good at it and I still have the halter on, this is going to be fairly easy to do. Like, it might take some time, but I could help get that horse to guide down. What I don't want to be doing is this. Like, let's say I want to teach my horse to soften and be good and all this. I'm not going to come up here and be doing like stuff like this. You see how he just starts leaving and it's just awkward. I'm just kind of just setting myself up for failure. All right, it'd be like sitting there on a loose rein while I flag my horse and just let him run off. All right, you'd want to set it up a little bit differently. So I'm going to offer him down and get into this position. Now, this might be something that takes you a while. You might have to do this 3 or 4 times to get him into this position. Now, from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the left side of this snaffle. I'm going to just take a hold of it. I'm going to come all the way underneath his jaw. I'm not going to come straight to his face. I'm going to come underneath here like this. Now, from here, if he were to leave or something, I could kind of use this like I did in the haltering and gather him up from the right-hand side here with the right side of my headstall. And then I could come up here to his face. Now, my right hand's going to help bring this up and down. My left hand's going to be just kind of tucked here on the edge. And what I'm going to do is my thumb's going to come in front of the headstall here, and I'm going to try to find right here, right at the top of his lips. I'm going to reach in and I'm going to wiggle around for his tongue, and I'm going to wait right here. My bit is up here ready. It's almost to his teeth, but I'm not pushing on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait right there and see until his mouth opens. When it opens, then I will push that bit up there. A lot of times why people have bridling issues isn't that the horse started that way, is that he got that way from habits. Like they just let this bit fall out at the end. They pushed it up in there in the beginning. And some horses are just sensitive and they don't like things like that. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to open up and I'm going to let it out. So I'm going to stick my thumb in there. I'm going to wait for him to open his mouth, and I'm going to slide it past. Now, notice here how this headstall kind of comes up above his head. it's fairly loose. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my right ear and I'm going to fold it forward just gently. I'm going to tuck the right side in. I'm going to check this other side here. That brow band's just a little bit loose. And then I want to make sure that my head stall is loose enough. Now, if I get here and this head stall is not loose enough to gently go over this ear, your head stall is probably too tight, at least for bridling. Maybe you want it tighter for riding for some reason, but loosen it for bridling, because what I want to do is fold this ear forward gently, be able to get this up underneath. I don't want to be pinching and grabbing and pulling and fussing and not paying attention, because these horses can develop some bad habits. Now, from here you might be saying, well, now you're stuck. Now you're going to look like a dang greenhorn. You're not out trail riding. You're in the arena. You're going to be riding around with your halter on. All right, so I still have this here, my reins over this arm. I still got the lead rope here. So I've got my horse in case something were to go haywire. I can just reach down on both, whichever one I needed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to untie this halter. I'm going to let it drop down here. And I'm going to just kind of drop it over his nose, you see. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my finger in there again like I'm bridling him, and I'm going to bridle him with my halter. So the nose, the band of the halter goes into the mouth. It goes around behind the bit. Okay, so this is the bit. The halter comes around behind. It's going to go underneath the bit and come out. So I'm going to reach, pull it here, and just gently wait for him to open his mouth. Now it'll just be right there hanging on the chin strap, and just pull it loose. Now you're not going to look like a complete greenhorn, all right, with your halter on. I'm not saying there aren't times I might not ride with a halter. Maybe I'm up in the woods or something, and I might take my halter with me. That's different. Then what I'm going to do here, the reason we have throat latches is so that if, especially like on a young horse like this, if we're here to shake his head or rub on a tree or rub himself, a lot of times an older horse isn't going to do that, but sometimes they will. This is designed to keep this bridle from coming off his ear. So if he were to, say it were to slip off an ear, it would come tight up in here. So in order for this to be effective, you cannot have this way too loose to the point where it might come loose if the bridle were to come off, nor do you want it super tight up here where it's choking the horse, because when he goes to collect and soften here, that's probably going to come up into his throat there and his neck there, and he just isn't going to like that. So I find this kind of a comfortable spot, and you can play with that position. You don't want it too loose, you don't want it too tight. All right, just like that. So then you're ready to go. So if I were to get on from here, then I just swing that rein over, and then I could go ahead and mount. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go over what it's going to look like for the unbridling, and then I'm going to show you what I would do if I wasn't going to leave the halter on. Maybe he's tied up or something. So same thing for just like the unhalter. I'm going to get him ready. He's in a decent position, but he could be a little lower. So I'm going to reach up here and kind of squeeze and just offer this. And if he's a little hesitant, I might do this a few times. What I'm going to do is I'm going to offer this over his ear gently. Now notice my hand is still up. So I'm lifting just lightly on this bridle. I'm going to wait till he works his mouth. There, he worked it a little, and then I'm going to drop it. What a lot of horses will do is they're going to want to hold on to that bit, and you don't want to just fall out of his face and clank his teeth, so I'm going to wait. Now notice he kind of picked his head up and pulled away just a little, so I might just offer him here just a moment to rub on him, let him know everything's okay.